This podcast was brought to you by the Shinra Power Company. We're killing the planet with our practices, we're killing people with our trained soldiers, and yet we're still not out of business. We're like Americans that way.
That is definitely a lot better than the punchline I had previously.
I think I'm gonna stick with that one.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, dude. Okay. Hello, and welcome to Monkey Broadcast, a monthly review and discussion show with me, the Jonin Monkey.
And me, Sven the Crusader.
And so, here we are in the month of February, which has Valentine's Day, which we don't care about, but it does have Pancake Day, which I do care about.
Oh god, I hope Pancake Day falls on a Tuesday, so the New Day can celebrate it on SmackDown.
Funnily enough, it actually does.
Oh dear god. Okay, my day is made.
Yeah, that's the usual tradition. Tuesday's Pancake Day, Wednesday is Ash Wednesday. I forget why it's called that.
So do I, actually. I don't pretend to know holidays.
I mean, I only know vaguely that it's all to do with Lent, which is meant to be connected to a time when Jesus decided to starve himself in the middle of a desert. I mean, I'm only remembering bits and pieces of growing up in a religious primary school.
Yeah, meanwhile, I have no such experience, and I am not a scholar of religion, so I'm totally I'm basically totally out of the discussion here.
That's fair enough. I mean, I guess it didn't do me that much good anyway, since my philosophy of religion is to now question everything, hence why I'm agnostic. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's better than pretending you know everything, and that's not just a dig at people who believe, that's also a dig at douchebag atheists. But moving on.
Indeed. Like always, we start off this show with
Q&A!
This is the section where we answer questions from the audience. If you'd like us to answer your questions, either leave them in the comments or send them to me via Twitter with the hashtag MBQuestion.
Okay, our first question comes from IZ. Can you think of a gamer show where the premise is just utterly ridiculous, but they somehow make it work? Oh boy, Splatoon comes to mind.
Actually, yeah, that is a really good one.
I mean, kids and squids.
Yes, and it is really, really enjoyable, in fairness. It's like, it's one of two games I regularly take part in the online play for. The other one is, admittedly, one I've only just started recently. Rivals of the Ether, if you're curious. But anyway.
I may have to look into that.
Basically, the best way I could describe it, it's a platform fighter, the same genre as Smash Bros., but it's got completely original characters, which are all elemental anthropomorphic animals, is the best way I could describe it.
Excellent. I like the sound of that, and I like the sound of another online game, because I have no multiplayer games anymore.
That is totally fair. It's also good if you want an alternative to Smash Bros. That has, like, the same combat engine. I had a few matches with Luffy McDuck, and I really enjoyed it, especially in terms of some of the ridiculous stuff that goes on in that. My current main is an electric goat named Amsa, just because... essentially, her backstory is that she's an alchemist monk. Just gonna throw that out there.
That's pretty excellent, actually. I love that concept.
Yeah, it's an awesome game. But yeah, getting back to the question at hand, off the top of my head, one game I can definitely think of is the Project Crosszone series, just for being able to handle that many games in a crossover.
Yeah, and actually, whenever I think of it, same for, the Warriors series, because that is a lot of Zelda and Fire Emblem to condense into one universe.
That is true. I mean, admittedly, they've been... I guess you could also like the Samurai Warrior series and the Dynasty Warrior series, just because they've been going for years and years with this whole reimagining historical figures as superheroes, and in fairness, from what I've read, they've actually made a lot of badass warrior women out of wives of nobles who honestly didn't do much when you actually look into it.
Ah, a little historical revisionism I approve of.
Indeed. However, Omega Team are also part of Koei Tecmo, who also make the fan-servicey Dead or Alive games, so...
oh dear god. Ah, yes, Boing the series.
Yeah, so it's give and take. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's, girl, what are you wearing? But anyway...
Or, actually, to be more precise, what is she not wearing?
But yeah, I suppose, talking about shows, one I can definitely include is the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Just that it's children's trading card games, but they're treated as a matter of life and death and are connected to ancient Egypt, and they were originally based around sorcery. Just like...
Yeah, it's wild. And I know that IC didn't specify anything beyond games and shows in this, but just for the verisimilitude of it, I'm going to include a book. Stephen King's Drunken Fireworks. The premise? Two families of career drunks get in a yearly war over their American Independence Day firework displays. I've brought it up before. It's a rare, straightforward comedy written by Stephen King, and it made me laugh my ass off, so I'm gonna plug it again.
Fair enough.
There's your flash of literature for the day, folks, just in case you get tired of Splatoon.
Fair enough. And some of my answers touch on the second question from Infinity Zero this month.
What are your thoughts on the true beauty is never tarnished trope?
For starters, it could get a little pretentious. And beyond that, I find that the beauty is never tarnished trope leads to some really ridiculous consequences for, like, battles and such, because...
Yeah.
Frankly, through history, after a few battles, warriors weren't particularly attractive people anymore.
Not really, no. The most understanding I can be about this trope is with video games, where it's really difficult to make models that can adjust to every single condition and show battle damage. So, in that sense, okay, yeah, I'm willing to give some leeway here. It's why you don't often see a lot of bloodied figures. You just see blood flying out of people. But that's about the extent of my understanding goes, because in everything else, like comics, movies, animation, what have you, it's kind of ridiculous. If you really must have the skimpy clothing, fine, but don't make it out like they're just completely spotless. I mean, I can't remember if I've brought this up. I did actually know someone in my Dark Age reenactment group who occasionally did swap out for a chainmail bikini, but they freely admitted it was a trade-off because, yeah, it was a lot of fun to just see people freeze up and then stab them because they had no idea how to deal with what was in front of them. But at the same time, she freely admitted, yeah, I do get hit a lot more and still get a lot of bruises all over me because all of the weapons are blood. So, yeah, if you're actually applying that to a serious battle situation, for the love of God, at least have a scar or two.
Yeah, I mean, for starters, it's way more realistic, and beyond that, I don't understand why a writer wouldn't leap at the chance to evolve their character's design. Like, to me, that's just part of the fun.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what your motive is, because I was actually thinking about this for, one of Jonin's thousands and thousands of potential video ideas he never has the time to act upon, but I was actually thinking about this. What could be a justifiable situation for the whole battle bikini thing? And there are only two ideas that you can think of. The first, which led to the creation of a character that I'm tempted to use in a D&D campaign one day, and Sven knows which one I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
One who wears a battle bikini basically because they're a sadist and they like getting cut up in the middle of battle, and thus is covered in a crap ton of scars.
As much as I hate to make the joke, hint, hint, actually I don't. Ooh, kinky.
Oh god. But the only other one I could see would be having someone who was kind of like that what they were sort of hinting at in 300, but it got buried under the ridiculous machismo.
Yeah.
And possible xenophobia and possible homophobia. But yeah, it's I kind of like the idea they were trying to set up with the antagonist. The idea that they're so confident that they will never get hit, that they don't have any armor. So it's almost like a taunt to the enemies. Like, I'm not wearing anything and you still can't hit me. That kind of thing. But
yeah, and plus, to be fair, in 300 it was totally inaccurate because actual Spartans wore armor that was almost impossible to pierce.
But you had to see Gerard Butler's massive pecs.
Well, to be fair, I understand the reasoning, but 300. And this is the thing. There was actually a case in history of that trope sort of being played out. The Celts, as they were when they fought the Romans war, basically almost nothing. But we know what happened to the Celts. They went up against the Romans, who wore segmented plate mail, and got demolished.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even in my reenactment circle, you pretty much only play Celts for two reasons. One, someone had to, or two, you're someone who likes to get hit. I'm not kidding. That's the justification anyone who's played Celt has ever given us.
Yeah, essentially, either they need a Celt, or they're a crazy bastard. Like
pretty much, yes. But, I joke about the General Butler pegs, but that kind of leads into my point. Those other options are only if you're, like, keeping the beauty never tarnished for a character-driven reason, but let's be real here. Most of the time, it's we have a hot character, and we want to make sure they stay hot at all times, because that's how shallow we are.
Yeah, frankly. And my advice to those writers would be this. If you really have to, make the character a spellcaster and put them on the rear guard.
Indeed, yes. It's also kind of why you also have that trope, the sexy cry, where it happens to both men and women, where they're really sad you just see a sort of single tear dripping down their cheek, rather than what happens to people when they actually cry, which is eyes scrunched up and snot everywhere.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the phenomenon, and it's not pretty.
Indeed, yeah. So that is pretty much our opinions on that trope. Basically, you really need a good in-character reason for it, otherwise it's just ridiculous.
Yep, and whatever you do, don't combine the two tropes we just mentioned, because what you would get then is Kenshiro, whose shirt explodes in every fight he ever gets into, and he's a master of the single manly tier.
Indeed, yes.
Our next question comes from Roy.
What are your favorite examples of
sorry whoever came up with this word,
leitmotif?
Which, for those who don't know, is essentially just a character's theme, possibly reused over the course of a series.
Indeed, yes. A good example would be the Empire's theme / Darth Vader's theme in Star Wars, where you'll hear it multiple times in different forms. Like, sometimes you'll get the fast-paced dun 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 dun, and then sometimes you'll just get the more ominous dun 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 dun.
Yeah, and actually John Williams is a master of that, because you also get a variation of the Empire's theme that plays as Darth Vader is dying, and it's weirdly calm and non-threatening. Williams also does it with the Force theme over and over again through 8 movies.
Honestly, just thinking about it, I'm so tempted to just put anything by John Williams in that aspect, just because of...
Pretty much, he's pretty much the master of the leitmotif. A word that I'm going to keep using and keep butchering, yes.
Yeah, especially the Empire's theme, which does... It really says something about that theme in particular, where there's so many different versions of it, but they all carry different forms of dread so synonymous that anytime anyone hears it, they just associate it with, oh god, something medicine's coming.
Yeah, pretty much anytime someone hears it, they think, okay, we're screwed.
Just to throw in a really obscure one that I like, although I'm not sure that it counts, it only affected like maybe 2 to 3 songs at best, but I did like Ninian's theme from Fire Emblem 7, just for when they built up to the variation Shattered Life.
Oh, yeah.
Even not just that scene, but also just that very slow, broken version of the theme. That just... Yeah, that was a really good use of that, I thought.
Yeah, and speaking of Fire Emblem, the leitmotifs in the Tellius games. I'm talking about the Black Knight's theme, as it was reused as a boss theme, and Ashnard's theme in the same context. Those were awesome.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. It actually seems kind of funny that letimoffs often seem to be very effective when they're rather villainous for some weird reason.
Yeah, there's nothing like a cue to let you know that Doom is coming, and especially in the Tellius games, you know whenever you hear one of those 2 songs that evil is about to happen. It's about to go down, son.
The only possible heroic versions I can think of are in the Tales of Symphonia on track, where everyone has an upbeat version of their character theme and a depressing version of their character theme. In fact, Zealous in particular has like 2 opposite extremes of his theme. There's one which is so upbeat and happy, there's all these trumpets, and then there's a really somber one that has I don't know if it's a Spanish guitar or just a regular acoustic guitar, but yeah, that's theme when it's like, oh wow, this character is much more serious than I gave him credit for.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of which, again to go back to Fire Emblem 7, I forget the name of the song, but there's a recurring theme through Fire Emblem 7, a variation is used for all three main characters, and anyone who's played that game knows the tune. Etc. And in the final chapter, there's a variation played as all of the characters you're bringing into the final battle each deliver their fight to the end line, so to speak. And it's just this swelling, roaring, epic orchestral version that just gets you pumped to kick Nurgle's ass.
Oh god, yeah, that was a really good example. And in fact, just to go back to Tales of Symphonia, I just remembered one other character who has a leitmotif that basically goes beyond the whole upbeat and sad version, and also has one sinister version and one kick-ass boss theme, Crossos.
Oh yeah. How could I forget? Actually, while we're on the topic of Tales of Symphonia, everyone knows my love of Beat the Angel, the ubiquitous versus Crucius boss theme. But I haven't touched upon the fact that it's a variation on the leitmotif played in places of worship throughout the game.
Huh. Oh yeah, no, you're right, I completely hadn't noticed that.
Honestly, that's part of what made that particular song so incredibly epic to me. Like, it's playing on a theme that's normally so calm and making it so sinister.
Yeah, that definitely does work because it is a variation of that.
Again, we come full circle back to another villainous theme, because of course we do.
Indeed, so yeah, I think that's all the ones I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure if I thought about it, I could think of some other excellent ones, but I think those examples we just listed, especially the villainous ones, I think they're definitely the strongest examples, just because, well, they so perfectly set up a character and the mood for the rest of the series.
Yeah. I'm in agreement, and I could probably, like you, think of a ton more if I put my mind to it, but we sort of have more questions to answer, so there you go.
Indeed. Speaking of which, our next one comes from Vice of Legend, and he asks,
what is your most hated anime with the worst trope? Not counting eye candy.
The thing is, the temptation to say Bleach is tremendous, but it's hard to call that the worst of the worst. Honestly, I have limited enough experience with anime that I haven't really dealt with the worst of the worst.
That's fair. So, if you do go with Bleach, what tropes does it have that you would describe as the worst of the worst?
Oh boy. Here we go. Boring invincible hero, boring invincible villain, the useless shield maiden trope. Oh god. The spotlight stealing squad, the wharf effect. Need I go on?
Yeah, Bleach does have a lot of bad writing tropes, but yeah, in my case, I'm actually kind of in a similar boat as you, because the thing is, I know the reason why you said not counting eye candy, because it's one of the most common reasons given for anime fans, and it's like, oh, well, it's Japan at this point, just accept it, but I feel like saying, no, let's address that, because it is what throws me off a lot of anime. I stopped watching No Game No Life because the premise could be mildly interesting, it then got really awkward really quickly, just to how much sexualization was in there.
Yeah, and really, that's the thing that kills a lot of anime series. I mean, it didn't happen with Sword Art Online as far as I'm aware, but that's another... Have I touched upon it?
Well, aside from the incest that was randomly thrown into the second arc, there was also, apparently, there was a scene of sexual assault that happened in the second arc.
Oh god, yeah, actually I remember that being brought up. I mean, from what I understand, Sword Art Online wasn't stereotypical anime in the way it presented its uncomfortable sexual undertones. It was more like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, well, Sword Art Online, it's not as bad as other series, but it does have those moments. But yeah, eye candy does kill my interest in a lot of anime. It's why, like you, I haven't really watched a grand ton. Also because I don't have time to keep up with so many shows in the same way anime fandom seems to be conditioned to nowadays. That said, respecting the rules of the question, I am going to include one which I think I brought up way back on Monkey Broadcasting. This is going back years at this point. Campion. Because, oh boy, Campion is a series I only watched 2 episodes of, and I just couldn't deal with it. Because it not only has sexualization of the wazoo, including a hilarious gag where, in the first episode, the female lead gets drunk and then assumes that the male lead is her maid and asks him to strip her naked and throws her in bed.
What? Okay, I forgot all about that one.
Okay, well, I don't think I mentioned that specifically at the time. No, basically what it features is, it's kind of a variation of the Boy and Invincible Hero. In fact, it's a variation of the trope I came up with for my review of Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE. Itsuki Templato. He is this bland male protagonist who, despite having no good qualities whatsoever, beside from the generic, oh, I think he's kind of a nice guy, he gets all the women and gets told that he is very special and that only he can save the universe. It's such an awful, clearly pandering trope. I mean, it really says something when shows like When Superhero Battles Became Commonplace and RE0 were actually getting a lot of praise because they directly subverted those tropes by actually pointing out, no, the protagonist is kind of pathetic, really. Because,
also a running theme in a lot of anime.
yeah, because, oh my god, this guy was such a complete loser, and he was having women throwing themselves at him, but on top of that, as if this setup couldn't get any more pandering, would you like to know how his special summoning powers are unlocked, Sven?
Oh god, let's hear it.
They have to exchange a passionate kiss, though the female lead, despite the fact that she really did not like this guy, at the start of the episode realizes that she has to stay with him and throw herself at him because he is the Campion, the chosen one who can summon ancient beings whenever he's kissed for some weird reason. And what culminated it for me was actually when I saw the opening in the second episode. Oh god, this opening. If you ever want to see how bad this gets, just look up the Campion opening. In particular, there's a sequence where the female lead and what I presume to be the villain of the series are engaging each other in an epic sword battle. And all of the other girls of the cast are watching from the sidelines, and they're going, oh no, oh god, what are we going to do? And then the protagonist walks by. And all of the women just start smiling, cheering him, filled with hopeful hearts he is going to save the day. And then he walks up to the female lead, who kisses him passionately. And it then cuts to a shot of him screaming to the heavens, as if he's saying, my boner will save the world! It's just...
Oh god, that's really, really pandering to the sort of useless tools who typically watch anime. I don't mean to generalize, but come on, it's like otaku fanboy fantasy.
Basically, yes, and before anyone gets into it, yes, I know Japan culture is different, and sex before marriage is still considered a big taboo, but it's still shameless pandering, because a lot of this is generated by 2 things. 1, people who have not got sex trying to get their fantasies to animation. 2, cold executives who don't mind exploiting the childish fantasies of people who have not had sex. That's basically the blunt truth of it.
Pretty much. It all comes down to people who want to, in the immortal words of the meme, let me smash.
I'm not saying there aren't any fan service anime which don't have good qualities, but even so, that kind of pandering fantasy, it's just sad and pathetic, honestly, and it kills my interest in a lot of anime when I see it. I know it appeals to some people, but not me. Not me at all.
Yeah, me either. As I once said, hilariously, to me, open fan service is the ultimate boner kill.
Yeah, I can't top that. So, next question, please.
Okay, our next question comes from McDuck, and it may be the best question I've ever seen. Let's assume there's an alternate universe where politics is done by playing tabletop RPGs. Would you move into that universe? Yes, 1,000 times yes.
Well, I would add a cautionary yes. It depends who the GM was.
Oh god, yeah, I mean, if the GM was someone relatively responsible, like, say, Angela Merkel of Germany, maybe the president of South Korea, that'd be okay. But if the GM was Trump, that, I've already been through Age of Worms once.
Yes, I mean, you would always be at risk at the mercy of a dice, but in a way, aren't you always like that in politics? I mean, at the very least, it would stop some people in their tracks, like, so, I'm going to try and give tax cuts to the rich. Natural one, sorry. No!
And I mean, you make a point. Hasn't politics lately just become a roll of the dice? I mean, look at where we are.
Even just choosing who to vote for is often a gamble in and of itself, in the vain hope that people will fulfill half the promises they say they're gonna do, or the Bernie or Bust campaign that happened during the American election, which, as many people pointed out, I mean, I don't want to make fun of your decision, but at the same time, you see where you guys are now?
Yeah, essentially, I respect why you're doing it, but save the grandstanding for a time whenever the alternative to the candidate you're protesting is literally a fascist orange.
But yeah, that's pretty much the answer to the question. If the DM is a decent person who's not going to spend the entire game trying to give us crap, then yes, that would be a nice one. I mean,
it'd be a nice alternative to what we're going through now, which is just a cycle of embarrassing story after embarrassing story. And also Theresa May being incompetent. Completely incompetent. Well, think of it this way. At least that party is not likely to last. Here, who the hell knows Americans are insane.
Honestly, the best way I can describe it is the conservatives are like zombies in D&D. They should have gone out ages ago by now, but they just keep making the damn con save, and they keep coming back.
Meanwhile, America has consistently failed to roll well on the wisdom save versus not falling for ridiculous Republican bullshit.
Charmed one too many times. Anyway...
I think it just comes down to Americans having a terrible wisdom score. Like, no one's ever... Even people who love us have never accused us of having common sense.
Unfortunately. But yeah, we now move on to our final question of the month, and as always, it comes from Toon Junkie.
The immortal and the illustrious.
Indeed. And he asks...
Can you answer this question without the use of the letter E?
Yes. Damn it.
I've got a better answer. No.
It reminds me of an old presidential anecdote. Way back in the mid-20s, a White House staffer bet President Calvin Coolidge that she could get him to say more than 2 words in a sentence. His response? You lose.
Oh dear.
Also, thank you, Toon Junkie. I played myself there.
Oh, indeed. And also, thank you to everyone else who has sent us questions this month. Please keep them coming. As you can tell, they make this show a very interesting ride at the start.
Yeah, this show is fueled by your questions, so please keep bringing them in.
And this would normally be where we go into the review section, but as you've noticed from the episode title, there is a slight change this month. Basically, due to circumstances we couldn't avoid, both the MB recordings for January and February were a lot later than I would have liked. In fact, they were so late I had to do a lot of crunch editing to get the Last Jedi podcast out in time. As you can probably tell by the fact I then had to re-upload it when I thought I was being clever by going, skip ahead to minutes, thinking, oh, future me will then add the correct time in post-production. Then future me forgot to add the actual time in post-production. Something which could be fixed with YouTube annotations back in the day, but then YouTube decided, no one needs to make corrections on videos these days. No, what they really need is advertising at the end of videos. But anyway.
Yeah, what they really need is advertising and family-friendly content.
So, basically, the long and short of this rambling is, I had to do some crunch editing, which would be alright, except I also had to do some crunch editing for Flip the Mic, so the Royal Rumble episode wouldn't be any more later than it was already. And again, that would be fine if I didn't also have to do crunch editing for work. Basically, I had to do some serious deadline editing crunching, and even if I had the mental capacity to do it, my body was breaking, as in my RSI was flaring up and every fibre in my being was screaming, no more, please.
Yeah, I understand that sense of existential dread. That was me doing my math quiz yesterday. So it's really understandable.
Yeah, so we did record a review for this month, but we decided to push it onto the next month because it was a big review. We cover a lot of topics in it, but I kinda just need a break. So we are going to do something a bit shorter, but hopefully a lot of fun. This new section is
QuickFire Reviews! Gauntlets!
And, oh boy, we discussed this last week on our casual chat, and this is gonna be madness.
This is the section we normally save for the end of a video, where we review everything else we've read, watched, or played, but within the maximum time limit of 60 seconds. We usually have the limit on something we've read, watched, or played that particular month, and even then, it just tends to be what's in the forefront of our minds. But this time round, we're going to try and review as many things as we can. The aim of the game is to pack in as many reviews as we can in the same short amount of time. Okay, Sven, do you want to get this ball rolling, or shall I?
Sure, I might as well talk about the thing that I blarged on about in our Star Wars episode.
Alrighty then. Your time starts now.
Pokemon Sun. Quality Pokemon game as always. I think I'd rate it just below Pokemon Black and White. And it's funny I should say that because, wow, Pokemon outdid themselves. They found a villain I hate more than Getsus. But hey, I mean, I still appreciate the Hawaiian aesthetic, and man, that champion fight was cool. So yeah, I love it. Good job, Game Freak. Good job.
Alrighty, good one. And also, that allows me to follow up with another thing.
Pokemon Ultra Sun, the remake of Pokemon Sun and Moon that came out a couple of years later. And I want to say it's just as good because, well, some of the good quality shine through, some of them, but unfortunately this is one of those cases where sometimes adding too much can weaken the whole product. I already went on a rant a couple of podcasts ago about how they force-shoved in the Recon Squad in order to add exposition, but then they've also been adding mini-games everywhere. Professor Oak comes in to give you Totem Pokemon, which feels a bit ridiculous, and then on top of that, they've been trying to shove Necrozama in as part of the lore, to the point where they use it as a way to justify and in fact partially redeem the villain, and thus weakening both her and Lily's character arc. So this is a reason why, just because something fills in details of the lore does not make it a good story.
Wow. Bad job, Game Freak.
Yeah.
I'm suddenly torn as to whether or not I want to redact my compliment.
Yeah, well, it's one of those weird things where they had a really good villain, and then for some reason every single adaptation wants to completely undermine it by redeeming them. Because the anime did the exact same thing as well, and I saw many people claiming it's a good job, and I don't get it. It's a thing that happens, people.
Yeah.
Anything else, Vandal?
Oh, yeah.
Doctor Who Twice Upon a Time because we forgot to review it whenever it came out because of The Last Jedi. Man, that was a slow regeneration story. Just, really, nothing much happened. And we sort of got the effect cheapened of Bill's exit and Nardle's exit, but on the other hand, I'm glad that they used the Christmas armistice finally, because humans occasionally don't suck, and honestly, I approved of the regeneration sequence. I always like those, and Capaldi was great as always, and I'm looking forward to the next series. Daniel Bryan fingers, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you on that one. I had very similar opinions. Charming, but not much happened, and some characters' exits or some characters' reminders were kind of weird and weak.
But hey, at least the grand finale was okay.
Speaking of British shows that I'm a little late in reviewing,
Robot Wars. Yeah, I was a fan of Robot Wars, who knew? I'm glad it's back, because it's always fun to see robots fighting against each other, even if they are remote control ones, and I do like the way they've been edited it, so that you get to learn a bit more about the teams, and that kind of helps you grow attached to some, and I'm really glad that Eruption won this year, because it is the heartwarming story of an 18-year-old who's always wanted to win Robot Wars, especially when going up against Carbine, or the two smuggest people who have no concept of joy, so it was really annoying to have them not only be the champions, but have a robot with a super destructive weapon that just ate through other people's machines, so, yeah. Let's just say I really enjoyed the last season.
Awesome. Good job, Robot Wars crew. You signed off on a good note.
Critical Role Season 2 again. I'm going to be doing this a lot because, hey, sometimes entire episodes deserve their own spot in the QuickFire reviews. The latest episode, Episode 7, featuring Carrie Payton, aka the voice of Cyborg from Teen Titans. Daniel Bryan fingers, yes, yes, yes. His character was awesome, I love Badass Grandpas, I wish I could remember how to pronounce his name, but I hope we see more of him. Also, Anxiety Goblin is my life.
Oh god, yeah, I'm really enjoying Critical Role so far. Just in case we failed to mention it last time, Critical Role has started a new arc recently, Season 2, so if you want to jump in on point, now's the best time.
Yeah, before it gets too much to handle.
Indeed.
Because believe me, it will.
Indeed, we're developing a complex mythology here about a group of really weird individuals.
Yeah, like, this is Quirk City. We've gone from Lord of the Rings to Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of internet series...
RWBY, Volume 5. Yeah, ever since Monty Ohm's tragic passing, the series has been taking a turn that has divided the fanbase. Basically, slowing down and focusing more on the characters and their evolution, and it's something I'm personally welcome, because it's bringing up stuff like Wise's family issues that frankly should have been brought up in Season 1 rather than focusing on her being a rich bitch. I can see what some people are talking about, that it's slow, and yeah, the fight sequences have suffered a bit, but overall, I kind of liked Volume 5, but there were some weaknesses. The fact that they were trying to make out Ozpin as a, God, if you found out the truth about him, it will shake your world, and then it found that, yeah, he's just an old guy who gave two people the abilities to turn into birds, and may or may not have sent a child into war, even though it was her choice. Evil man.
Wow, okay then. Yeah, the weird thing about RWBY is just the sort of contrast between then and now. I think Monty Ohm just had sort of dumb action series in mind, and honestly, after a while, it just didn't really work. So I'm sort of glad that they're going more introspective, because character development is my jam.
Well, apparently it was always planned that way. Like, Monty Ohm went on about how this is the kind of story he wanted to tell. I think it's more that they focused more on that just because of the action, and then, ironically, some of the weaknesses are trying to get over the fact that I think I've realized what the problem was with RWBY. Like, Monty Ohm is a great visual guy, but it's one of those things where everything about RWBY's story in the universe feels slightly shallow, and that's kind of part of the thing they're tripping over Seasons 4 and 5. We're trying to make this a bit more introspective and deep, but we had a very shallow starting point, so I should probably stop there, because the last time we talked about RWBY, we got disliked into oblivion.
Yeah, we don't really need any more of that. So, I'll move on.
Full Dark No Stars by Stephen King. Oh god. There's Dark, there's Stephen King, and then there's Full Dark No Stars. A collection of 4 short stories. I'm just gonna sum this up as best I can. 1922, horrifying. Big Driver, horrifying and made me sort of hate humanity. A Good Marriage, horrifying. Fair Extension, horrifying, made me hate humanity and also laugh uncomfortably at it. Just, wow, Stephen King. Wow. Good writing, though.
I guess that's all you want from Stephen King.
Yeah, I mean, you can always count on him to deliver quality writing, even whenever he's making you question humanity.
Indeed. And moving on to my next one.
Thunderbolt Fantasy, The Sword of Life and Death. This is like a transitional movie. Well, I say movie, it's only really like an hour and 10 minutes long. It's a transitional story between Seasons 1 and 2, where we get 2 stories, one with the backstory of the Screaming Phoenix Killer, which is a good backstory that gives you an insight into the motivation of his character and a realization that Lin Satua is indeed a massive prick, but also, it also gives a nice story about Shang, which not only serves as a really fun recap of the series in a comedic way, but it also just shows you how much of a nice guy Shang is, as he actually provides a good bit of counseling to someone who used to be a minion of the evil organization he took down.
Nice. That was a wild ride right there.
Star Wars, the original trilogy. It's still good. I'm not biding for time. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess that counts. Okay, moving on. Although, speaking of movies...
Murder on the Orient Express, the 2017 remake directed and starring Kenneth Branagh. It's a pretty good adaptation, all things considered. Some nice updating of the story, well shot and really well acted. There are some action sequences thrown in there which are a little silly but perfectly fine, but there are also some additions to the story, some of which I liked, in more so in that they actually gave the story an ending beyond the twist, but there are some changes which baffle me, like having Poirot staring at a photograph of what is presumably a lost lover going, Catherine. And then not explaining who Catherine is, or why Poirot's obsessing over her, or why we should care.
Wow. What was the game you said had a fear of exposition? Oh yeah, Mirror's Edge. I'm suddenly reminded of that. Also, I have to ask, quality of mustache, who did it better? Kenneth Branagh or David Suchet?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, David Suchet's was small and elegant and had a nice curl. In terms of size and raw power, it is nothing on Branagh.
I mean, this is the guy who directed Thor.
True. The best way I can describe it is, you know how people use the phrase handlebar mustache? This is a mustache that could be used as actual handlebars. That's the size we're talking about.
Okay, I approve.
I seriously need to show you an image of that, because staring at it is like a monstrous titan. It's a sense
it's
of
the stuff of legends.
You just stare at it, and you're both awestruck, and you're thinking, how could such a thing even exist? It's ridiculous.
I approve. The mustache I aspire to be.
Alrighty, let's keep the ball rolling. Sven, you're up.
The Dice Stormers play Horde of the Dragon Queen. Jonin will know why this series has a special meaning to me. Spoilers, it's coming. We swear that series is coming. A group of charming New Zealanders get together to play D&D 5e Horde of the Dragon Queen as a group of ridiculous elven brothers. I literally just started watching the series today, and I can already tell I'm gonna love it. So, go and give the Dice Stormers a watch. I like what they do.
That does sound awesome, and I'm curious to pick it up just because I have been branching out into other D&D series. I would do a review of High Rollers because I have yet to watch a full episode, just little clips here and there, but they have produced some really great stuff there.
Yeah, I've started branching out into that too, and I was watching class creation videos just because I love the character creation process. I happened across this and I was like, they're playing Horde of the Dragon Queen. This is fate. It'd be even more fateful if it was Curse of Strahd, the one people have actually seen from us.
Yeah. I have seen Curse of Strahd ones as well, so maybe I'll back up the courage to look at one or two of them. But yeah, one thing I can definitely review now.
Fire Emblem Warriors DLC. I've already mentioned that I'm a big fan of Fire Emblem Warriors, especially in my New Year video where I mentioned that it reminded me what I liked about characters that I had grown sour towards due to overexposure. But the gameplay, it's repetitive, yes, but still enjoyable, challenging, and strangely relaxing in its own way, which is odd given that you're swarming down thousands and thousands of soldiers. But they've added in a good bunch of characters, including the likes of Minerva, Lind, and Navara in the recent batch. And also that comes with some great supports, including one where Lind basically tells Navara to stop brooding and admit you like your friends. And but yeah, if you're a Fire Emblem fan, I do recommend picking this up because there are some great stuff in there. I mean, if nothing else, just check out the supports. They're awesome.
I think I'm gonna have to do that because it's Fire Emblem. There's Lynn, and she's voiced.
Indeed, yeah. Oh god, Lynn gets some absolutely great supports in there, including one where she does what many people have wanted to do but never had the chance. She slaps Takumi.
Thank you, Lynn. Oh god. I mean, I know he gets better, but dude, Takumi, you deserve it. I need to check these supports out. I've accepted that I'll never have the money to afford a Wii U, so I'm just gonna spoil myself on all the supports.
Well, it's on Switch, and I also think, I'm trying to remember if it's the 3DS or New DS, but I know there is a version available for the portables as well.
That's good to know. I may have hope.
And Sven, whilst you still have hope, your next review, please.
Let's stream Knights of the Old Republic by MVL Gaming. Hi, MVL. I heard you were proud of me for stealing that coin from you in the last session of Curse of Strahd. So, in order to repay your pride, yes, I'm doing a shameless plug of one of my friends. Seriously, though, the playthrough is great. It's Knights of the Old Republic. Go watch it. Give MVL's channel some more love.
Awesome. Yeah, check him out. He's been doing some really awesome streams. Knights of the Old Republic is the latest one, but you can also find in the archives some streams he's done of Resident Evil and L.A. Noire, which was interesting, if only for the horrendous driving.
Yeah, and then there was also the Danger Zone, especially that one episode that made my sides enter orbit, where you two played that really awful zombie arcade game.
Oh god, House of the Dead Overkill.
Yep, that's the one. He kept shooting the civilians, a man of my own heart.
Wait, what? Why would you shoot the civilians?
Okay, maybe a man after the heart of edgelord 14-year-old me, who loved doing that in games like Saints Row.
God. I'm just gonna move swiftly on from that.
Dragon Ball Super. This is something I'm eventually going to review. I'm not sure about the specific timing, just partially because of this and also because, well, let's just say we've got a big countdown coming up next month that we're both really excited to do. But eventually I may get around to reviewing it. Basically, the Tournament of Power arc has actually been really good. There was some, having all the universes get together in what is essentially an all-out multi-man brawl was a really awesome idea. There were some good character moments, some really cool new characters introduced. I don't care what anyone says, I freaking love Khalifa and Kale. Well, Kale has her weaknesses, but anyway. And we also got to see some unique and interesting fights and get some supporting characters a chance to shine. That said, Jiren is a boring villain, and we, of course, had to make it so that it's Goku versus Jiren at the very end. Yay.
I mean, of course we did.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go into a full-on rant, but I'll just say that Jiren is a very simplistic character with an incredibly boring fighting style, even by Dragon Ball Z standards.
That bad, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of like... You know what? I'll give part of the rant now. The best way to describe Jiren's fighting style is, it's like a 5-year-old item a character. I'm gonna fire a Kamehameha at you. Well, I block it, because I'm that strong. Alright, well 5 guys are gonna attack you at once. I deflect them all and then block them, because I'm that strong. I'm gonna try a Kamehameha straight at your head from above. I am going to uppercut the Kamehameha, and then the uppercut will also hit you from a distance, because I am that strong.
Oh, so Tite Kubo riding Ichigo.
Basically, yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to. I would say I'm sorry I added another controversial opinion, but that's not really a controversy anymore, is it?
Oh, no. In fact, something that will totally scare you, he's Ichigo with no personality.
Oh god, how can Ichigo get less personality?
They found a way.
We could bring him back harder, better, faster, more boring.
Oh god. So, yeah, no time like the present. We are in double figures, we can keep this tally going. Sven, QuickFire review something, anything.
Okay.
This package of lemon Oreos beside my desk. I wish there were more of them in them. I wish it wasn't empty. I wish there were actual Oreos still in the package. But they were good.
Yes, that's good. Let's see, what else can I review? Let's see what's on my desk.
My PC controller, it was made by D-Long. No, it's very good. It's nice and comfortable in the hands. Kind of wish that the wiring wasn't weird so that the buttons are ordered in a really weird way, so I have to reset it every single time I try to use it on a gaming PC, but hey, you know, it's a PC controller, what are you gonna do? And it was cheap.
That's always nice.
Let's see. Anything else? Anything.
I got one.
Purell hand sanitizer. Clean.
Yes,
I'm
that's
so
good.
ashamed of myself.
The scrambled eggs I had for dinner tonight. They were really good, if I do say so myself. Especially when you combine them with other things, like potatoes and Yorkshire puddings. Yes, I have very weird combinations. Autistic taste sensing, what are you gonna do?
I can't judge, especially when...
Especially when I'm now reviewing the chicken thigh stir fry I'm gonna make for myself later on today. It's gonna be great, I know it is. I have garlic and butter and pepper. And I'm gonna throw bacon in it, because what is health?
That all sounds very good, also making me very hungry, but yeah, next review.
My Blue Yeti microphone. It sounds good, at least I assume so. You can hear me, right?
While we're on a roll.
My Blue Yeti microphone.
Excellent. Oh god, we need to think of something, actually some substance to review.
Oh god, if this were...
This wireless mouse. I haven't taken it out of the box yet.
What do you mean that's a DQ?
And in all seriousness, one last serious review because it's what I've been looking forward to all day.
WWE Elimination Chamber 2018. I haven't even seen it, but I know it's gonna be good, even though, no, they're not gonna make AJ Styles lose.
Oh wow, and yeah, with that closes us around, I'm doing the final tally now. 17 reviews in all. Not bad at all.
Yeah, it's like whenever they kept taking the championship off of John Cena and then giving it back to him week to week to pump up his championship count.
Indeed, but somehow, despite that one DQ of me attempting to review a wireless mouse that was in its box,
and me attempting to review things that haven't happened yet.
So yeah, it's probably more closer to 15, but hey, not bad for our first attempt, if I do say so myself.
We've nearly matched Ric Flair. Wait.
And I guess, if nothing else, it's given the audience an overview into what we're watching from day to day.
Yeah, as well as a look into the weirder parts of our mind.
Until next time, I've been the Jonin Monkey.
And I've been Sven the Crusader. I'm gonna stop using this voice now before Lynn slaps me.
That was Monkey Broadcast, a monthly review and discussion show hosted by the Jonin Monkey and Sven the Crusader. If you feel that you've been the subject of slander or that your copyright has been misused, please PM me and I'll try and get round to fixing it as soon as possible. We also welcome any comments, be it feedback or your own viewpoints on any of the things we've discussed. Until next month, have fun, kids!